My discussion is specific on leading and managing technology teams. The agenda that will follow is introduction and background of myself, scaling your team and technology for organization, learn, adapt, focus, and then plan for the next disturbance. I'll give you an introduction of myself and discuss my journey. So, my journey, along with many other people, has taken a long and twisted road. My time in the United States military helped me develop skills I will use later in my career. It taught me responsibility, accountability, hard work, and how to tackle difficult challenges. From there, I started my career in technology at IBM. This was a great place to start, as the company had several platforms created for the business world and the consumer side. I learned a lot about different distributed systems. I learned creating specific systems for specific needs, and then I got a taste of software development. In this role, I found out that the formal requirements from the client should drive the development cycles from there. I went to work for Verizon and better understood how to architect the correct solution by finding the proper requirements based on a client's business objectives, their needs, and what they were trying to accomplish. With many options available at Verizon, with software, hardware, distributed systems, and consulting services, we were able to give the customer a total solution. From there, I went on and became the owner of my own business. This was a great opportunity to understand what it took to design a service, get the proper support structure, create a customer base, hire, train a team, measure the performance of the company and the staff. Maintaining the business and developing new revenue streams in that business became a full-time job. It was exhausting. But this experience gave me a rounded education on the challenges businesses face when starting and trying to expand. I then enrolled and completed my master's degree in global business and blockchain technology at the University of the Cumberlands. This accomplishment helped me make the right connections in developing real world applications for blockchain. One of those was the tokenization of carbon credits and putting them on the Polygon blockchain to be specific. And this is the work that I'm currently doing at DigiKerma. From working at the help desk at IBM to where I am today, I've learned a lot about what it takes to lead technical teams. From help desk to CTO. This recap is where this slide helps recaps where someone's technical journey can take them. As I mentioned earlier, in my journey slide, I had the opportunity to learn more about how to identify what a client's requirements were and how to solve them each time I moved into a new position. From the help desk technician to the director of technology, a person can grow and accept new responsibilities. I believe it is our responsibility to help provide that pathway for our employees to develop and succeed. I think it's important that we provide them the training tools, the ability to take external training, or to work with other informational groups to be able to decide where they want to go within that organization for their career. We've seen many personnel in our career take a different route than what they started, and they seem to blossom once they've taken on that new responsibility and have gained insight on how they can help in different parts, again, of the organization. Scaling your team. What exactly is your size of your organization? How many hats do they have to wear to ensure things get done? I know that I have to wear a lot. Originally, when we started out, there were only 2 to 3 of us in this startup. We had multiple duties and responsibilities to assign to us, and we had to help collaborate on ones that weren't. It is estimated that a startup may have 20 plus tasks that they have to be able to accomplish at any one time. And so there's a lot to do specifically to keep the wheels on the bus for a startup. A perfect example of this is at DigiKerma, the need for a sales effort, platform development effort, marketing of the company and its product. I had to participate in selecting web designers, helping improve content for advertising, in marketing campaigns, determining what color our logo should be, developing sales leads, and determining what country or state we should be incorporated in. These are just a few of the activities and responsibilities I got roped into. Your team size will be determined by the number of activities or tasks each person has to complete. It will be long hours, in my case, lots of caffeine. But as the team grows and your to-do list starts to shrink, you will be able to see the progress that has been made. One of the things that we did is we implemented a technical roadmap at DigiKerma. This is an example of that technical roadmap. We put together a chart. This chart is only high level, and we definitely have more granular ones specifically in our quiver, if you will. But it shows on what days we need to do what to continue progress. We have a much more detailed ones with deadlines, like I said, but this breaks down each team's members' responsibilities. Many tools can be used for this. Monday.com, Trello, or even a simple Gantt chart in Excel. The key is to have the organization and what needs to be done and who is working on it. This type of organization will save your sanity, believe me. If you look at the high-level roadmap, you will see that we started to break down the appropriate timeframes for certain development milestones and following dependent tasks. There are 3 different colors of bubbles or tasks representing different phases. We looked at the functional, the non-functional requirements for each phase during the development process. In other words, we had to determine what had to be done to move on to the next phase. Again, there are multiple examples of this out on the internet, but I think what you'll find is whatever platform that you use, you can modify it to what you need for it to be. Not every startup or not every company is going to be the same. You have different things that specifically you have to prioritize either in the development phase or in the delivery phase. So whatever tool that you choose, as long as you use an organizational tool or something like this, then I think you're going to find value in that. And you're going to be able to see that an organization, again, will take you to the next level of understanding what needs to be done and what are the next things that need to be accomplished. Team members. How many team members do you have at your startup? As I mentioned before, at DigiKerma, we only started with about 3. But it made our team meetings extremely short and extremely easy. But a lot has changed since then. From about a year ago, we have brought on approximately 27 people, including our overseas development team. When 2 people come together with an idea that is yet to be done before in the marketplace, it takes those first steps in the founders to be able to define that. As the idea matures, it starts to attract other individuals that believe in the idea and its potential. The increase in responsibilities, capabilities defined the growth that we experienced over the last year. In developing our platform, we realized we needed more people with different skill sets, and we just didn't have them. So what we did is we went out and did hire specific contractors and then also started to use the gig economy, which I will talk a little bit more about. Hires a CTO needs to make. We have had to make several hires during our tenure of building the platform. As I mentioned, there were only about 3 of us when we first started. As we identified the platform requirements, it was clear that we needed several resources we did not have. These resources are included on this slide, but not necessarily in the order which we brought them on. We discovered that sometimes we should have brought on resources earlier than we did. Example of this is we brought on a UI or UX developer after we'd already designed and implemented the testing on our final testnet platform. Fortunately for us, we were able to ship and have the UX designer work with our developer and make improvements, but it caused a delay in our launch. but it looks really good now. Just unfortunately, we didn't launch the dates that we wanted to launch on. It is interesting how you discover that additional resources can be extremely helpful when rolling out a new platform. As our team grew, they naturally became our testers, pseudo quality assurance engineers, and bug finders. This caused problems as that was not their inherent role, not what they were hired for. And these individuals may not have had the proper testing experience, patience, or understanding, if you will. As we get closer to our platform launch, we are planning for essential personnel to be hired. These include tech support, systems administrators, cybersecurity personnel. As we have worked to build our service, we have found that not all job functions have to be permanent hires. As I mentioned earlier, we've used the gig economy quite extensively for missing talent. We have used resources such as Fiverr, Upwork, Braintrust, and other contractors to fill certain needs. But as we grow, we still have a need for a number of personnel to be hired and to make sure that we have a resource that is versed in our company and what it offers. Now, with that said, again, the gig economy is a great, useful tool when you don't have the expertise on staff. But to be able to continue to build our company, we have identified in different roles what our direct and permanent hires are going to be. Learn, adapt, and focus. One of the things that happens is change. In fact, it's the most consistent thing that happens is change. What are the changes that you are facing in your organization? At DigiKerma, we face the following. We had integration of new technology with old technology, specifically integrating the older existing energy industry technology, again, with newer blockchain technology. Not an easy match. Developing a technology platform that with integrated with products and services had never been done before, at least not before now. Governmental regulation inside the blockchain space. We were trying to determine if the tokenization of carbon credits were a security or commodity, even with the 10xDS, and it had their help. With the collapse of cryptocurrency firms such as FTX, Arrow Digital, BlockFi, and many others, there has been increased scrutiny on any company participating in this blockchain or cryptocurrency space. We have had to investigate what government regulations in what countries would steer the direction of our offering in those different countries. What might be compliant in the Middle East may not be compliant in the United States or Europe. In just the short time I have been involved in DigiKerma, I have seen the voluntary market for carbon credits grow. In 2021, the voluntary carbon market grew at a record pace, reaching $2 billion, 4 times its value in 2020, and the pace of purchases is still accelerating. By 2030, the market is expected to reach between $10 billion and $40 billion. Purchase credits help fund biodiversity protection, pollution prevention, public health improvements, and even job creation. The landscape for regulating technology is a daily occurrence and something that we face, if not weekly, if monthly, specifically trying to find out how we're going to navigate around it. That leads me into my next slide, focus and adapt. As a startup, it can be extremely easy to lose focus. The creation process stimulates the brain's frontal cortex. The ideas can be born. Ideation session is key and it should be unrestricted, but sometimes it can lead to getting off track. There needs to be a focus on what you're trying to accomplish and the prioritization of tasks that work to create the minimum viable product, getting something out the door, as we would say. We have a daily status call on the platform deployment at DigiKerma and what is left to deploy it. We allow the discussion of future improvements, but the focus is on the task at hand to follow the technical roadmap and what is spelled out. There's a very valuable, again, this is a very valuable tool for keeping in line, but also spells out the next steps. One of the things that I observe with a creative group is that works at a startup, there's no limit of what they can accomplish and dream up. We have a development team that can have an idea, research how to implement it, design, test, all within less than a week. This is a very valuable tool and attribute to have, but as a leader, I have to ensure that it aligns with the current version of the platform and keeps resources in the current plan and time schedule. Again, the technical roadmap is invaluable and it will help focus on what needs to be accomplished near term and in the future. What happens when things change to move the direction of development? We'll discuss that in the next slides. One of the things I wanted to talk about specifically are the quotes here by Bill Gates and Sarah Clayton. I think that they are appropriate specifically when it comes to focus and when it comes to adaptation. Again, if you read through them, I think you get a better understanding is that focus has to be laser pointed, if you will, on getting the minimal viable product out the door. And then one of the things that happens specifically, the adaptation is sometimes that minimal viable product specifically isn't going to be what you initially thought it would be. You have to put away part of your idea specifically that it's going to be X, it could change to Y. And again, some of the things that we'll talk about with technology trends and disturbances, but you have to focus that there will be changes specifically on what you initially dream up, and again, what you eventually provide as a public offering. But something to consider about is how, as a leader, how do you implement that focus, and how do you work with the adaptation, and how do you lead your team to understand that both of those are very important. Plan for the next disturbance. In the top tech trends that will shape the coming decade, according to a McKinsey report published in October 2021, there are 10 trends that are listed that would change the face of the modern workplace. We'll go through this one by one from the report, but not too far in depth. In the report, the first one was next level process automation. In the report, by 2025, more than 50 billion devices will be connected to the Industrial Internet of Things, IIoT. Robots, automation, 3D printing, more will generate around 79 zettabytes of data per year. Excuse me. Network connectivity, faster digital connections powered by 5G and IoT have the potential to unlock economic activity. There is so much implementation of faster connections in the mobility space, including healthcare and other, again, IoT type applications. Distributed infrastructure. There's an estimate that upwards of 70% all companies using or all cloud or multi-cloud platforms, a part of a distributed IT infrastructure. It will mean data processing can be handled in the cloud, but made access to devices faster. Next-gen computing. The report quoted, preparing for next-gen computing requires identifying rather what kind of industry that you are in now and how you're going to adjust and what kind of industry you're going to be in the future. Artificial intelligence. By 2024, AI-generated speech will be behind more than 50% of people's interactions with computers. 6, programming 2.0 and software 2.0. Get ready, where neural networks and machine learning write code and create new software. We're starting to see this already in the ChatGPT and other capabilities of writing code or development specifically with these AI sources. Trust architecture. One approach to building a trust architecture is the use of distributed ledgers, is blockchain, as we mentioned before. It allows for immutability, decentralization, and other things specifically that the blockchain offers. Biorevolution, propelled by AI, automation, and DNA sequencing. The biorevolution promises the development of gene therapies, hyper-personalized medicines, and genetic-based guidance on food and exercise. Next generation materials. Developments in materials and science have the potential to transform multiple market sectors, including pharma, energy, transportation, health, semiconductors, manufacturing, and using nanoparticles. Last but not least is clean tech trends, renewable energy, cleaner, greener transport, and energy efficient buildings. You can see that there are a number of things that will change specifically what you do in the future or how you run your organization or affect your organization in the future. And COVID is a perfect example. Even though it may not be a technology trend, it was a disturbance or something that a company would have to adapt to when it hit. Remote work became extremely prevalent, if not 100% prevalent, where it was not even looked at 5 to 10 years ago. Get help and conquer. We've talked through a lot of things specifically on what to expect, how to make sure that you grow your team, build your team. But what are some of the resources that as a CTO you can go out and find or enlist to get help? One of the things, or some of the things that I've looked at, but one of the main things that I've looked at is mentorship. There are a number of folks out there that have done or been through this in this position and are willing to mentor you to help you become that better CTO and to understand what it takes to become a great CTO. 7 CTOs, an organization, again, very similar, provides a capability to work with other CTOs in technology or whatever your business may be to be able to identify and the same problems, the same issues, and to be able to work together in discussion and also meeting to work through issues. LinkedIn groups. There are LinkedIn groups out there that provide a lot of education or advice specifically on the CTO level. Executive education. It's out there. It provides a great experience in understanding, at least at a theory level, of being a CTO, what you have to look at, what you're in charge of, or what you would be in charge of, and how you can better hone your skills. Discussion with CEO one-to-one. This is a very valuable tool that I don't think a lot of CTOs take advantage of. Is work with your CEO and let them define what they want your role to be. Let them define specifically what technical requirements or what technical advances or direction that they want to have in the company, and you can help provide that vision. In my conclusion, I would say if you do these 5 things, you're going to be a lot farther along than you were before. 1, build your team. 2, develop your team. When I say develop your team, I mean, let them learn. Let them become more versed in specifically the technologies they're working at or other technologies that are applicable to the company. Allow them to take training and further education. Organization is a key. As I mentioned earlier and just showed an example of the tech roadmap, that is not the only organizational tool that we have available at DigiKerma. We have a number of tools that we implement, including, again, Monday.com and some of these that help define what needs to be done, who's doing it, and when it's supposed to be done. There are so many different things going on at a startup. You have to have that organization. Gain internal and external requirements early. Internal requirements sometimes are a lot less simpler to get than the external requirements with a client. But you have to be able to identify as a CTO, is your organization getting the internal requirements of what a platform, a product, or a service is supposed to be and what is going to be provided? Gain internal and external requirements, or as I mentioned early. So don't wait till the last minute or don't wait until you're close to launch. This is something from example that we've had to suffer through and find out that if we would have just had, again, either one of those, internal or external requirements, sooner than we received them or acted on them, we would be a lot farther along than we are today. After action review, as I had mentioned earlier, I was in the military, and one of the largest things or best things that we could do after an event was have an after action review. Identify what went right, identify what went wrong, and identify what could be changed. This is, again, another invaluable tool to be able not to repeat mistakes or to make sure that you're productive and moving forward with what you need to do after you've completed some type of task. I thank you for allowing me to speak at this summit. If you're interested in getting a hold of me at DigiKerma, you can reach out to me at greg@carbonkerma.com or greg@digikerma.com. And we're located here in Herndon, Virginia. And also take a look at our website to really get a better understanding of what we're trying to do at www.carbonkerma.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg. This was very insightful. I think it's a great way of looking how to manage technology teams and how to drill down. And I think it's, I love the transition and implementation of your experiences in the Army, etc., and bring that discipline to this makes a major difference, because quite a lot of times we see challenges with the teams in technology area that has challenged by the discipline which is necessary to move forward.
Okay.
I would like to understand a couple of things. For example, what is your kind of a typical, you said you started 3 people, but how you grow? Like, what are the key, not only roles, but specific things that you're looking in a startup? Like, who should be there in a startup, at least? Like, could you give me a couple of examples? Like, what would you say if you have only 3 people in your organization? What kind of assets that they should bring to that organization?
Yeah, I think when we started, we had obviously the founder, we had a director of finance and a director of technology, which worked, but there were a lot of things that were missing. We brought on a director of operations. And so what we really started to see is that, again, we needed operations, we needed finance. And then even after that, marketing and sales came after that. So what we started to see is that though we were developing a platform and technically we knew how to do it. We knew what it was going to cost. We knew what we wanted to deliver, but how are we going to market that? How were we going to sell that? So we found it very important that we start bringing a marketing and sales organization, or at least folks that were from that background, to be able to help implement, because that's the problem. If you can get, focused in a box and not look out, where are the external influences and what's the question why, as a customer or a client or whatever, why would I be interested in purchasing that? Again, you can get into this is what we're going to build, and this is how we're going to build, and this is when it's going to be complete. But at the end, is what you're building relevant? So, and what problem does it solve? What requirement does it solve? What are the options out there? So we had to take a step back and kind of look at, again, looking from a technical and a procedural view, what would we do to be able to provide that as a service or product to to our clients or our customer base?
Sure.
So, and then I think part of that on top of that also is how do we bring it, we didn't have one person specifically in charge of the whole effort. We had different silos. We had technology, we had marketing, we had, maybe finance, but we didn't have one role that was to bring us all together and assign us, in essence, work plan or responsibilities, because we were all kind of siloed. And we brought in a chief of staff, director of operations, and they helped provide that direction of, basically herding the cats, if you will, to be able to get that accomplished. So
Yeah, no, just great. And let me see if there's any questions out there. So we're gonna chat with you later in the panel, and looking forward to it.